one of the things I love about The Chosen is it brings our whole family to the couch to watch the show together. Children, adults, grandparents, everyone.
Yeah.
And we often have a lot of questions about the show. I'm curious, what was the most difficult part of season 5 for you to write?
Well, I honestly, when I'm writing, I try not to think too hard about what you just said, which is that who's watching and who might understand versus who won't. I'm hopeful that whatever I write, that it inspires conversation and inspires a certain amount of holy imagination even, and the kinds of conversations that you just described. I would say that when in this Holy Week, trying to wrestle with what Jesus is experiencing, knowing what's coming. So when he first shows up and there's thousands of people worshiping him, that should be a joyous occasion. And he can't be sitting there going, I know you're not going to be doing this by the end of the week. I know this is where you just need to know by the end of the week I'm going to be in a lot of pain. Like that would be, that wouldn't make sense. And so wrestling with the divinity and the humanity of Jesus, also with his foreknowledge of what's to come. The same thing with Mother Mary. She knows what's coming too. Obviously not the details, but wrestling with, as actors, their portrayal of that dichotomy of there's beautiful things happening this week. It's Passover. This is one of the most holy weeks of the year for us, and yet we know what's coming. And then for the disciples, writing the disciples in a way that Jesus is telling them exactly what's going to happen and they don't get it. Even the actors were like, how am I this dumb? And I'm like, well, we've had 2,000 years to figure this out. Back then, they had no hallway for what was happening. They had to assume he was speaking in parables. So I think wrestling with the multiple range of emotions and levels of understanding was the hardest part of writing this season.
And since I've had a sneak peek, I do have a question for you about Kaphne. Did you have Kaphne's pathway kind of in mind when you wrote the death of Rama in season 4?
I think so. I mean, when as always happens with The Chosen, a lot of the big moments that we write aren't necessarily about the specific people involved. It's about the people around them and how they're going to react. And so Thomas's arc is, of course, what we were infusing with the death of Rama. But we also know that Jesus said, I divide families. And we also know that in Holy Week, and ultimately in season 6 during the crucifixion, there are a bunch of people who want him dead. Well, I think it's the chosen way to make sure you know some of those people, and you know what would have driven them to want him dead and to want to believe that he was a false prophet, and that it wasn't just he was blasphemous, it was that he actually impacted and divided families, and that leads to, I believe, some of them calling for him to be crucified.
I think that's one of the strong points in your writing team. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for being here.